I think I'm just a little confused. Could you clarify for us?
Well, let me clear this up for you. Perhaps you'll find some new appreciation. Promises made, promises exaggerated, that's a jab. It's a mockery of the current leadership, it's a mockery of my opposition, and it's a mockery of what so many politicians do. Overstate, overpromise, and then underdeliver. Look, here's the grim reality. The current city leadership has done nothing. Nothing of consequence. And you can see it. It's starting to deteriorate, it's starting to break down. As for my promises, they're huge, big, monumental. And let me tell you this, they might seem a bit larger than life, but at least if they don't fully live up to the expectation of what I've promised, they'll still tower over any of the half-hearted, limp-wrist accomplishments David or anyone else in this city has made. We need more than just promises. We need action, we need bold leadership, and that's exactly what I bring to the table. Leans back, confident and unyielding.
Thank you. And Mr. Restrepo, during the debate you mentioned taking a look at the town's finances. Could you elaborate on how you obtained this information while doing your research about the town's finances for us?
Yes, I'd also like to know more about this. Have the 2024 complete financial records even been posted yet? It's still tax season, giving a knowing look wondering if he has insider information.
Of course. Every company, and by extension, every town, is required to make their financial statements public at the end of the fiscal year. These reports are available for anyone to review, and as someone who believes in making informed decisions, I took the time to go through them as part of my research. The publicly available data includes information such as revenue sources, budget allocations, department expenditures, and municipal debt. This gives a clear picture of where the town's money is going, how much is being spent on various services, and whether there are inefficiencies or areas that need better prioritization. For example, I looked at law enforcement and emergency services budgets, infrastructure maintenance costs, and public programs funding, not just how much is allocated, but how effectively it's being used. Understanding where the money is going is the first step in making better financial decisions as a leader. So, to be clear, I didn't have access to any privileged or restricted information. Everything I reviewed was readily available to the public. I just made sure to actually look at it, because I believe that making financial decisions for the town requires knowing exactly what resources we have and how we can use them more effectively. Thank you for asking. In California, the fiscal year for municipalities typically begins on July 1st and concludes on June 30th of the following year. For the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024, financial statements are generally prepared and audited in the subsequent months. These annual comprehensive financial reports are often published several months after the fiscal year's end. For instance, the state of California's ACFR for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, was published on December 13, 2024. I have only used publicly available information, as I'm sure you have too.
Thank you.
David, you mentioned reviewing publicly available financial data, but given that we're in March 2025, I have to ask, are the 2024 financial statements actually available yet? You mentioned that the fiscal year ends on June 30th, 2024, and that the reports are typically published months later. But given we're already more than 8 months past that date, are you sure you have the most up-to-date information? If those records haven't been published yet, how can you be confident that you're making decisions based on current data? I think voters deserve to know how recent and complete the information you've reviewed for your plans.
Yeah, we all deserve the most up-to-date information, Nick. And that's exactly what I've used, the latest published report, the same information available to every resident of Portofino. If you have more recent data, I'd be very interested to know how you obtained it, because as a private citizen, I don't have access to anything beyond what's publicly available. I'm not a career politician, I'm not in any inner circles, I'm just someone who did the research that any responsible leader should do before proposing a plan. So if you have privileged access to unreleased financial statements, I'd love to know how. But as for me, I work with what's available, through the same legal avenues as any other resident of this town.
Yeah, I got a question too. You talk about annihilating crime, but you ever wonder what happens when you lock up all the small-time players like me? You think it's going to stop the real crime? The ones pulling the strings from the top? My guess is it just pushes everything underground. Hell, you could ask the PD. They've got my number on file, don't they? So what's the real plan here? You think this mayoral crime squad is going to fix all this? Or are you just giving the public something to cheer for while everything keeps turning?
Aha, here he is. Well, Dallas, let me tell you something. As someone who's been in the limelight of a courtroom, wrongfully I might add, I can only sympathize with you. I've seen how the system can be twisted, manipulated, and used to target the wrong people. My first act as mayor will be clear. Kevin Huntsman? He's gone. Police incompetence, sham trials, and corruption like that? Not in Portofino, not under my watch. We're going to clean house and ensure that this justice system actually serves the people, not just those in power pulling the strings. Crime? We'll target the real criminals, the ones at the top, the ones who think they can operate with impunity.
You think you're going to clean house? You think getting rid of Kevin Huntsman is going to change anything around here? What about James, just as the same as Kevin? That'll just make room for someone else to take his place. Like James, even worse, in my opinion. You can clean house all you want, but you and I both know the real power stays hidden in the shadows. You're talking about corruption and the real criminals, but you sound just like every other politician out there, promising to take down the big guys while still keeping the game rigged. You want to come for me? That's cute, but I'm not worried. You'll have to get through a hell of a lot more than a nice speech before you even touch what I've built.
Dallas, I've followed your trial closely, and let me tell you, what I saw, circumstantial evidence, unjustified police brutality, and bad police work. It's a disgrace. We won't stand for that anymore. That kind of nonsense will no longer be tolerated under my watch. Things are going to change around here, and I mean it. You've been through the system, and I get it. But trust me when I say this. There will never be another case like yours brought before these courts without us being absolutely sure of every detail. No more rushed judgments, no more shady tactics. If we're going to act, we'll do it with precision, not because someone's got a grudge or a bad agenda. As for what I'm really talking about, Dallas, it's the violent public crime. Out there in the open, the kind of crime that destroys communities and puts everyone at risk. If you're out there causing trouble, you're going to feel the consequences. You fuck around, you're going to find out. Simple as that. That's the kind of crime the Mayoral Crime Squad will be targeting.
Guess we'll see about that. You talk a good game, Nicholas, but like I said, I'll be watching. And you'd better hope you're as good at making changes as you are at talking about them. This city, it's a whole different animal when you get down to the real players. And I'm not just talking about the ones wearing badges. But hey, good luck with that public crime stuff. You're gonna need it.
Thank you. My first question is to Mr. Restrepo. Can you please tell me where I can find this information about the town's finances? I'm curious to have a look myself, if it is public knowledge. As I am sure many others in town will be just as curious where to find this information. Mr. Vinwright, how do you think bigger guns and tanks will help curb the rise in crime here in our city? As it seems, or rather feels, already like a show of force even over something as simple as an arrest warrant.
That's a great question, Sage, and I appreciate your curiosity because transparency in government finances is important. In the U.S., municipal financial reports, including budget allocations, expenditures, and revenue sources, are typically available through the town's official website, the city clerk's office, or the finance department. Many cities publish their annual comprehensive financial report online, along with budget proposals, audit reports, and expenditure breakdowns for public review. Additionally, state-level agencies, such as California's State Controller's Office, also maintain financial reports for municipalities, and organizations like public record databases or open government initiatives make local financial data accessible. If you're looking for Portofino's financials, I'd recommend starting with the town's website or directly contacting the city clerk or finance office for the most recent publicly available reports. It's public information because it belongs to the people, and I encourage everyone to review it. After all, an informed community makes for a stronger city.
I think Dr. Doolittle means to say he's got no actual idea. He's relying on financial data from 2023, and here we are in March 2025. That's a gap of over a year, folks. Things change fast, especially when it comes to budgets, expenditures, revenues, priorities. You can't run a city on data that's already a year old. The report you're talking about, published in December 2024, covering the fiscal year that ended in June 2023. That's 2023 data, everyone. Not even close to what's happening now. Promises made, promises exaggerated, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. It's code for, I don't really know what I'm talking about. But hey, let's give him a round of applause for using whatever data he can find. Even if it's not exactly up to date, right?
Thank you.
That's a great question, and I hear you loud and clear. The truth is, bigger guns and tanks aren't about showing force just for the sake of it. What I'm talking about is ensuring that our officers have the resources they need to protect the community from the growing threat of violent crime. Gang violence, organized crime, the kind of activity that's been escalating and making people feel unsafe. Now, I get it. You don't want to feel like our streets are being militarized, and neither do I. But there are situations, real dangerous situations, where we need to be ready to respond with the proper tools. It's not about overkill. It's about making sure that our officers aren't caught off guard by armed criminals who are outgunning them. I also want to bring back the mantra of open carry and conceal carry in Portofino. We need to bring back the good guy with a gun.
Thank you.
I'm glad you have more recent information, Nick, though I'm not quite sure where you got it from. But let's be real, if you don't have any official numbers, then you're making decisions off of nothing at all. Yes, the most recent published data is from the last available fiscal report. That's how government finances work. Budgets and financial reports are reviewed, finalized, and published at set intervals. If you're claiming to have numbers from 2025 that haven't even been released yet, I'd love to see where you're getting them. Because here's the reality, every city official, every department, and every responsible leader has to work with the latest official numbers. That's why financial planning is done in fiscal years, not on a whim. If you're saying we shouldn't use the officially published financial reports, then what exactly should we be relying on? Guesswork? Hope? So yes, I use the best available data, because working with real numbers is always better than making decisions based on nothing at all.